There'll be time enough for counting when the climbing's done. Sorry. Rise and shine, it's time for crimes. Well, at least getting up this early is some kind of a crime. Anyway, I'm Allison, a tiny trailer traveler who sometimes needs a break from her not-so-tiny hobby farm project. And I'm a morning person because I'm not a crowd person. But today's trail is worth getting up early for. We're headed to Perry Creek in Mount Forgotten, one of my favorite trails on the Mountain Loop Highway corridor. This section of the Mountain Loop Highway is closed for the winter season, and you wouldn't want to hike this one in the snow anyway. I've done it early in the season when there was still snow on the path and only made it a few miles before one of my hiking companions slipped and fell in the iced-up creek crossing, and we had to leave immediately. Hey look, a gladiator just pulled up. I don't think I mind sharing the trail with that guy. He's okay. I've already shown you one of my other favorite hikes on this highway, Gothic Basin and Foggy Lake. While Gothic Basin brings the panoramic views just as well as the ones you'll see later from Mount Forgotten Meadows, the Perry Creek Trail traverses one of the most unique microclimates in the North Cascades, abundant with upward of 250 unique plant and animal specimens. But more on that later. During the busy season, this trailhead will handle a lot more than the 2 cars, including us, we saw here today. The parking lot is home to 2 trailheads, Mount Dickerman on the east side and the Perry Creek Trail on the west side. It's also your gateway to scrambling Still-Gawamish Peak and Mount Forgotten. I've never done the Mount Dickerman Trail, but I swear it's on my list. I even drove all the way to this trailhead once, planning to do it, but at the last second I decided I couldn't resist the siren song of the Perry Creek drainage, which makes up about the first 3 miles of our trail. And besides, Mount Dickerman climbs about 4,000 feet in 8 miles, and that's really easy to say no to when Perry Creek to Mount Forgotten Meadows is about half as steep and maybe twice as interesting to me. This trail, corny as it sounds, has it all. Literally has it all, and then some. Because of its position and elevation in the North Cascades, the Perry Creek Drainage Valley, where we're headed, is home to an overwhelming diversity of plant and animal species, rarely found together in a single day's hike. It's been a designated natural research area since 1977. As a forager, I can personally attest to the biodiversity here. It once took me 6 hours to finish the first 2 miles of this hike during mushroom season. According to the petitions filed from back when it was designated, the rugged, extreme slopes and winter avalanche patterns create an ideal ecosystem for cool stuff like more than 30 individual species of fern, including multiple rare species, the federally threatened spotted owl, trees growing side by side that normally don't grow together, and at least 5 kinds of huckleberry. All of this also means you shouldn't camp or make fires anywhere near this place. Camping and off-leash dogs, and all the wear and tear and waste that comes with that, are extra harmful here. In fact, designated research areas discourage any recreation at all. So my strategy has always been to visit alone or in just a pair, but try not to touch anything. And I only sometimes taste, not harvest, The berries I can positively 100% identify as safe. And while the berries you can find on this trail are sometimes common, raspberries, salmon berries, blackberries, blueberries, and a whole bunch of kill-you-dead berries, you'll find them living all together here on the same slope sometimes. You'll hear Perry Creek Falls for a while before you see it, and about 3 miles in you'll reach it, but you still won't see all that much of it. Woe to the person who does get to see the full falls, as that can't be accomplished without falling to your death. Which, as far as I can find, fortunately hasn't happened yet. And frankly, you can't see all that much if you tread right up to the very worn edge. This is where almost every person I've ever brought here has turned around, whether by choice or by force. A few just tired of the rocky path up, but 2 have slipped off various rocks and logs at the crossing and into the creek. So watch your feet and avoid crossing when this log is icy or the creek is at its early spring peak flow. My hiking buddies learned that one the hard way, and so did I when I had to go in after one. After the creek crossing, the trail gains 2,000 feet in 2 miles before you'll get a rest, making the crossing a great spot to stop for a snack and to reevaluate your life decisions. What awaits you is a lot of switchbacks through forest until the trail evens out and you enter the meadows. I, too, have unfinished business with this trail system. Although I've been up to Mount Forgotten Meadows about half a dozen times, I've never scrambled for any of the summits, mainly because I've spent too long looking for mushrooms and lost my daylight. Today isn't looking good for me either, because although my pace is admirable, I'm recovering from the plague and a trip to Alaska, unfortunately experienced at the same time, but I'm trying to keep an open mind. Starting in early summer in the meadows, you'll find still dozens more wildflower species, a few more berries, and, heads up, also the bears who love them. When you look behind you, once the morning fog's burned off, you'll see Big 4 Mountain. At some point ahead of you, you'll catch sight of Mount Forgotten, and then you're not far from this little pond, which often turns into a mud puddle by summer. Once at the meadows, you have a decision to make. Option 1, add 2.5 miles and another 1,000 feet to scramble Mount Forgotten. Option 2, take on the rough trail to Stilgawamish Peak for 3.5 more miles, or 3, just call it a day and go back satisfied you got a lot of bang for your 10.5 mile buck. The good news is that unless there's snow, thunder, or bears, there are no wrong answers. And here's where I'm going to have to admit my post-plague lungs still aren't 100% and forego the scramble up Mount Forgotten once again. But this is still one trail where turning around isn't ever a disappointment, because wherever you end up, it's going to be packed with some pretty interesting stuff. know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. Never count your trail mix till you're standing on the peak. There'll be time enough for counting when the climbing's done. Sorry. Oh, my head.